Welcome everyone to Not Another Boring Lecture, How to Make Your Classes Fun. With us today is Laura Bible and Stacy Tucker. They're teachers from Tennessee Virtual Academy, and they're here to share great ideas about making your class time fun. I'm going to turn things over to them, so they have lots of wonderful things in store for you this morning. Take it away.
Hi everybody, welcome. We are just so happy to have you here with us today. We're really excited to get to share some things with you. Hope you had some time to check out our Dropbox and also watch this funny video from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Again, I'm Laura Bible, and I'm from the Tennessee Virtual Academy, and my co-presenter is Stacy Tucker.
Welcome everyone. I am Stacy Tucker. This is my 5th year of teaching, my 4th year with Tennessee Virtual Academy. A little about me. I've been married to my wonderful husband for 21 years. We have 3 children, 1 son and 2 daughters. In my spare time, like teachers have that, right? But in my spare time, I enjoy cooking, reading, traveling, and being with my large, close-knit family.
Hi, I'm Laura Bible. I'm in my 7th year of teaching, my 5th year with the Tennessee Virtual Academy. I've been married for 5 years, and I have 2 sweet little boys. I'm currently in the middle of my master's degree program, and I love reading, traveling, and spending time with my family.
All right, so we're going to start out with a quick polling tool activity. So get those polling tool fingers ready, guys. So several students in Mrs. Adams' class want to share their work with other classes in the building. What aspect of student engagement are these students demonstrating? A, curiosity, B, focus, C, excitement, or D, none of the above. All right, so if you chose C, excitement, give yourself a big pat on the back. These students are super excited to share their work with other students in the building. Student engagement, as we all know, that's key to learning and personal development. And as teachers, we are always striving to create a love of learning and instill that in our students. But there's always those little ones that are a little harder to reach than others. At Tennessee Virtual Academy, we are held to very high standards with our state testing, so engagement is important to us for many, many reasons. Amy L. Reshley and Sandra Christensen said it best in their research. Engagement not only drives learning, but also predicts school success. For that reason, we have tried to come up with ways to get our students really excited about their education every day.
We really needed a way to bring fun to the virtual classroom, and we found some great success with the following resources: Reader's Theater, social media, group strategies, and encouraging engagement. All right, so I'm a 3rd grade English language arts teacher at Tennessee Virtual Academy, and I sometimes have a hard time figuring out what I can bring from brick and mortar into our virtual world. Reader's Theater was one of those things. I'd never thought about it to begin with, but how many of you all have tried Reader's Theater in your virtual classroom? Give me a green check if you have tried Reader's Theater, red X's if you've never tackled it. Well, this year was actually the first year that I have tackled Reader's Theater. Started Reader's Theater in my guided reading groups. The focus of Reader's Theater should be fluency and expression, but we all know how fun it is to read and act out a part. However, most traditional texts cannot hold students' attention for up to 4 separate readings, but Reader's Theater truly engages students, and it's the most popular form of repeated guided oral reading. Reader's Theater provides an easy-to-implement dramatic text that does not require memorization, props, or a stage. I mean, how much more brilliantly could it reflect in our virtual world? We don't need a stage. We don't have to have props. We can use them if we want, as I'll tell you in just a second. Some of my students have been using props. But I implemented this, as I mentioned earlier, in my guided reading groups to begin with. And the way that I do that, the group that is going to perform the Reader's Theater to begin with, was my higher group of students. So I would let them practice in a breakout room using short scripts. And while they were practicing, I would work with the other groups in the room and just leave enough time at the end of class that they could perform for everyone. So when I first tried this, the Readers Theater group, they were so excited for the social activity that Readers Theater provides. And once they performed in front of the whole class, it sparked that same excitement for the other groups to do Readers Theater as well. So it made them want to read. And we all know that getting excited about reading, that's huge. I also recently tried it in whole group using a multi-level script to engage diverse reading ranges of my students. The fun part is that our students love getting on webcam. They get on webcam and read all the time, so they can use the webcam. And the very first time that I tried Readers Theater, I had a student who got a mask. And so when he jumped on the webcam to read his part, he was wearing a mask. So I've been telling the students, if you have something at home that would act as a costume or a prop or anything like that, you can use that as long as it's appropriate for school. And so the kids really love that, and it's getting them super excited about reading. Another thing that I have had great success with is using social media in the virtual classroom. 96% of students with internet access report using social networking technologies, and 3 in 5 use these tools to talk about educational topics online. So social media has really revolutionized many industries, but perhaps it's had the biggest impact on the classroom and the education system as a whole. So whether it's through the use of private social groups, Facebook pages, classroom Twitter profiles, or blogs, School After School has embraced social networking, with some studies showing that used correctly, these channels can have a positive impact on grades. And so myself, since I teach 3rd grade, I don't actually use real life social media. I know in some of the older grades that would be perfectly acceptable, but with my young students, that's something that I don't necessarily want to tackle, getting them in to the actual social media. So I use templates. I use tweets out the door. I use Facebook status updates and different things like that. But my students are really comfortable showing me what they know using these platforms. I mean, every kid sees their parent accessing social media on their cell phone, and they all know about Twitter, they all know about Facebook, Instagram, different things like that. So it's something that they really love to do, and they usually ask me, are we going to do a tweet out the door today? But these are not just fun for the kids. I use them to gather data and gauge student mastery. This is just an example of one of my tweets out the door. Typically it's an exit question that has been reworked into a tweet. This particular example, my lesson was on visualization using the book Officer Buckle and Gloria. The tweet out the door was, what would this character tweet about? Write it as though you are that character using Twitter. They actually had the option of choosing Officer Buckle or Gloria as their character. And so if you can see it, I know it's kind of small, but this student said, today at the college, Officer Buckle and I was giving a safety lesson. I copied him. News reporter filmed me, then showed it on the news. And they really get into the hashtags. This student said hashtag busted, hashtag copycat. So I love that, and I was able to see, hey, this student really got this lesson. And so that was just one example. And there are a lot of different ways that you can implement the social media templates into the classroom. I use them as exit tickets, getting to know you activities. I usually do a Facebook status or Facebook profile page at the beginning of the year so that the students can tell a little about themselves. Character studies and historical figure profiles, so you could, get that across the subject areas. That would be great for history. Response to text. So those are a few of the ways that I have implemented or have thought about implementing the social media templates in my classroom. And I just have a few examples that I wanted to share with you guys. So this is not necessarily social media, but as I mentioned earlier, these kids see their parents using cell phones to access social media, and so they all know how to use cell phones. But this particular lesson was a characterization lesson, and they had to pick a character from a text that they had read and create a home screen wallpaper for a cell phone. And so this student had read a text about Halloween, and so that is why she has that background. And I went a step further, and I told them that they needed to provide evidence from the text to support their character's choice of wallpaper. So this student, she really got it. She said, according to the text, Michaela was excited to celebrate Halloween because of what she had learned earlier in the day at school. And that reflected in her, her background and her evidence from the text. And the second part to that lesson, the characters the characters received a text message from another character in the story. And so the students had to decide which character would send the text and what would they say. And so this is the text that that student created to go along with this cell phone wallpaper. So that's one example of using cell phones. And here's a tweet that we did after a lesson about Booker T. Washington. The student learned that Booker T. Washington was determined to learn to read and never gave up. And these are some typical Facebook status pages that I would use. This came from a story called Camping with Cousins. And they had to they had to give a Facebook post as if they were the narrator from the story. I loved this one because the student not only gave his Facebook post, but he even went on, if you can see here, it looks like people are commenting, so it's like they're having a conversation on Facebook with, people posting in response to his original post. And then this was just a regular post for Facebook as the narrator from that story. So the kids love these. They ask all the time, are we going to do a tweet out the door? Can we do a Facebook status? So it has really, really helped my engagement in class. They come to class excited to see if they're going to get to do something like that. I've got them asking if we're going to do a reader's theater today. So these are some ways that I have found that really help with my student engagement.
This is sort of a personal story. Last year, I had some very lecture-style lessons, and I was just exhausted at the end of each day from talking so much. And it was sort of like, I felt like that video at the beginning of our session from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I knew that if I was having a hard time, that my students were probably really bored, and I needed to get out of my rut and try something different. And I was really lost about where I needed to start. I thought, how can I change my class to be student-centered instead of teacher-centered? And I had a lot of questions. And some things that I asked myself, well, I need to remake all of my lessons. How can I get the kids excited, and how will I structure my group? Because I really wanted to start doing more group work and more cooperative learning in my virtual classroom. And I didn't know how to, move that from a brick and mortar school into a virtual setting. And it was actually very, very simple, and I didn't need to restructure all of my lessons. I took things that I typically would have just read or explained, and I had the students do it themselves. And some things that helped me were creating some group structures and roles and accountability for my group. And I put this little caution right here. Make sure that you also do incorporate some task slides into your lessons, because for a while, when I really got on a cooperative learning kick, I just did group work, and then it was hard for me to see what the individual students really knew. And I think that sometimes I really missed out seeing how much some students were struggling because I was just doing group work. So make sure that if you're doing that, that you kind of incorporate that independent piece too, just to kind of see where they are. And so some strategies, giving students responsibilities during group time can really help engagement. Sometimes I have a strong leader as my reporter who shares results with the class. And a group organizer or note taker is a great role for a student who struggles with shyness, because some students are very shy, and maybe they need some help coming out of their shell. And so maybe giving them a task like that can help them, become acclimated to working in the team. Another problem that I faced when I first started doing a lot of group work was sometimes the groups would get really off task. And I don't know if you've ever struggled with that, but sometimes it would drive me crazy. I would go to these groups and they would start talking about random things. And so this is a really great way to help students have some self-reflection and think about what they're doing. And this is a group self-evaluation checklist, and it's something that students can fill out on their group just to
see how they did. So we finished our task on time. We did a good job, yes or no. We encouraged each other, and we cooperated with each other, yes or no. And of course, you can, I'm glad you liked it. And this and all these other slides are in our Dropbox PowerPoint. We have a special template for you, and you can have this for your own lessons. And so this was really helpful for me. Of course, you can modify this however you want for your own classroom to see what works for you. And sometimes it helps to put them in teams with fun names. If they are doing independent work, it helps to assign each child to his or her own room in case they're removed from Blackboard due to tech issues. I used to just randomly have Blackboard put them in their own room, and I found that whenever they came back into the Blackboard room, if they got kicked out, they were confused. They would say, "Which room am I in? I'm confused." And I'd say, "Well, I don't know." So at the beginning, when we first started doing this, we would assign a student to a room. I made up all these student names, but it really helps them so that they can see where to go, and to divide them up into teams before you go ahead and start doing that. Sometimes I put them into leveled groups. So I might have one who, you know, with some struggling students, and stay in that room. I'll stay in that room most of the time, or a high group, or sometimes I would, you know, just divide them up in different ways. It helps with differentiation. It helps to make the teams fun and correlate with the lesson you're teaching. I teach social studies, and so I've been doing some units on the continent, and I recently did one on Australia. And one thing I did that was really fun is I divided them up into teams. I didn't just say groups, but teams, and had the koalas, the kangaroos, and the wombat. And they just absolutely loved it. They would get excited, and I did this for a couple days. And they'd be like, "We're the koalas, and we're the kangaroos," and they just had so much fun, and they really enjoyed it. It was just a really exciting thing for them. And even with cold calling, there were still a few students who just couldn't seem to get motivated to participate. And I really had this issue a lot during my experience as a virtual teacher. It's been really hard trying to make sure that I'm getting them all involved. And so this was a huge struggle for me. And this is another teacher from TMVA, Sabrina Joyner-Lynn, and I stole this idea from her. She helped me come up with this, and it was class contributor badge, and I started that this year, and it has totally changed my classroom, and it's just made it so much better for me. I've even seen a huge improvement in my fast students, you know, the kids who don't want to read, don't want to participate. And what you do is when you're giving them, some of you probably already do this, and what you can do is toggle over the student, and it says closed captioning, but it'll stay up the whole time, and it says CC. And so it shows up the whole time, and you can see, scrolling down your list, who has been participating, who has that CC badge, and who doesn't. And it's just a really great visual to see who's been active in your class. And they really get into it. I mean, sometimes they'll even remind me, "Hey, Mrs. Bible, you did not give me my badge, and I need my badge." And it's really exciting how they love it. And so it's been really great. It's totally changed my classroom by doing that simple thing. It's just been really amazing. I did that this year. And of course, when students just can't seem to follow the instructions, or they're MIA, I move into the refocus room, and I talk with them about what's going on. And of course, I do this during the group time. You know, if you're having a main class session, you can't leave your whole class and go in there. And so this is a time to talk to the students about what's going on if they're not at their computer, or they're not using their tools correctly. Of course, the CC badge is, you know, more of a positive reinforcement, and this is more like a time to understand, you know, what's going on. And these simple strategies have just totally changed our classrooms. It was surprising to see how easily the classroom could be changed by just a few simple adjustments. You know, we didn't alter all of our lessons. We didn't, you know, completely change everything, just a few simple things. And the students in our classes are more engaged, and they enjoy taking ownership of their learning. It even helps some of the students and staff that, you know, sometimes they're not really talking or involved. And in the future, we plan to learn new ways to make learning fun. We're still learning through sessions today, through other teachers and their great ideas. And Teachers Pay Teachers and just Pinterest, all kinds of great things. And, you know, don't be discouraged if things just don't go very well at first, because it takes time. I know when I started doing some of these things, you know, there were days when the students weren't used to doing those tasks, and it just took me a while to get used to it, and them. And so it's okay if it takes a little bit of practice.
This is just a list of our references and resources. And then our contact information. If you guys have any questions or comments that you would like to leave us and you think about those after the fact, this is our contact information. This can be accessed through Dropbox, but you can contact us through email, telephone, or Skype.
Thank you all so much for coming to our session today. We really appreciate all of you, and we hope that you got something out of this session. And again, all of those things are in Dropbox. We have a PowerPoint with all of these templates for you if you want to take it for your own lessons. We really want you to leave us some comments below and give us some feedback on our session.
Or if you don't want to leave a comment, you could always go into the breakout room below and tweet out the door. There are several tweet pages in there if you want to claim one by writing your name on that page and tweeting about your experiences. We would love to hear your comments and your questions. Thanks, guys.
Let's give Stacy and Laura one more big round of applause for their time today and all of the wonderful ways that they're engaging their students at TNVA. And it sounds like some of you might be doing some similar things, so it's nice to see how things get tweaked across the different schools to make things workable for our kiddos. So as you are leaving the session today, you will be provided an attendance survey. You only need to fill that out one time. So if you're going to continue on and see another session or participate in another workshop, you can just keep going and fill that form out at the very, very end. Additionally, I know that Laura and Stacy provided resources for you. However, there will be a big collection of resources for all of the different sessions, so don't fret. If there's two sessions at the same time that you're not able to get to, that you really wanted to get to, you will still have the resources for all of the different workshops and speaker series today. So thanks once again to Laura and Stacy. We're glad to have you as part of our Promising Practices 2017. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.